Hi everyone. Have you ever sat in silence, staring at your dreams, and whispered to yourself, maybe one day, if I'm lucky? If yes, you're not alone. But here's the truth. Only weak people wait for luck. The strong? They create storms. They don't wait for miracles. They become one. Part 1. The Lie We Believe. Meet Zion, a boy from a forgotten alleyway of the city, born in a house with a leaking roof and dreams bigger than the sky. He had no mentor, no money, no map to success, just a fire in his belly that never cooled. People laughed when he said he wanted to be a global speaker. A speaker? You can't even afford shoes, they mocked. But Zion had a weapon most people ignore: relentless belief. He woke up at 4 a.m. every day. He read like a beast. He practiced speeches in front of cracked mirrors. And every time the world shouted, "You can't," he roared back, "Watch me." The ones who change the world are not born lucky. They're born desperate. One night, standing alone on the roof of his house under a broken sky, he whispered, "This life will not beat me. I will bend it with my bare hands." The universe doesn't hand greatness to the patient. It gives it to the persistent. You see, waiting for luck is the biggest scam. Luck is lazy hope. But destiny? Destiny bows to the ones who dare. You can either wait for doors to open, or you can kick them down. Zion kicked doors, and he kept kicking until the world had no choice but to let him in. Part 2. The War Within. The real enemy is never outside. It's the voice inside you that whispers, "You're not good enough." That silent assassin within, full of doubt, fear, insecurity. That whisper is sometimes louder than any scream from the world. But the question is, will you listen to it, or will you fight it? Zion, now recognized in his region for his unique voice and fierce passion, was invited to speak at a global motivational summit in Berlin. A dream opportunity, but also a new battlefield. As he stepped into the glass-walled conference center, surrounded by people from across the world, confident speakers, professionals with credentials, perfectly tailored suits, and silver tongues, something inside him cracked. "Look at them," the voice said. "They belong here. You're a fluke, a mistake. You don't fit in." Zion looked down at his wrinkled secondhand shirt, the same shoes he wore during his delivery job, and the trembling fingers clutching his notepad. He couldn't afford a coach. He didn't have a team. All he had was his truth and a fire in his belly that no one could see. Yet, in the back of his mind, he could almost hear his inner child crying, his past echoing. The nights of hunger, the stares of pity, the weight of always being almost enough. The stage suddenly seemed like a mountain, and he was barefoot. And then, like a torch in darkness, he remembered something. Not from a book, not from a guru, but from his mother, who once gave him half her portion of food when they had nothing. Her eyes fierce, her voice soft, she whispered, "When your heart is full of hunger, the world will taste your fire." He took a deep breath, the kind of breath that doesn't come from lungs, but from somewhere deep in the soul. He walked onto that stage, not with a swagger, not with perfection, but with a storm behind his eyes. He was trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of every step he had taken to reach here. And then he spoke. No fancy words, no structured fluff, just raw truth. He spoke of pain, of hope, of falling and crawling and rising again. He spoke of people like him, people like you, people who have tasted rejection, who've been laughed at, who carry dreams in torn pockets. He spoke like a warrior who's been hell and brought back fire. The crowd didn't clap. They stood. They cried. Because when truth speaks, even silence kneels. Don't try to be impressive, he said, his voice shaking but strong. Try to be honest. The world has too many masks. Be the mirror. He didn't just win a trophy. He conquered himself. That inner enemy, the shadow voice, the part of us that says, you can't. He faced it. And that's the real war we all fight. Not outside, not with others, but with that dark whisper inside. And standing under the Berlin lights, trophy in hand, tears in his eyes, he realized something more powerful than any award. Success is not beating others. It's beating who you were yesterday. So here's the truth, friend. You might be sitting in your room, doubting your worth, looking at others, feeling like an imposter. You might think you're too late, too old, too broken, too different. But listen closely. You're not weak. You're just beginning. And beginnings? They're messy. They're painful. They're full of chaos and learning and awkwardness. But they are sacred, because in those moments, your story is writing itself. Don't envy the polished. Respect the scarred. Don't chase perfection. Chase truth. Everyone has their own Berlin, their own mountain, their own moment of trembling. And when that moment comes, don't try to be perfect. Be real. Be bold. Be you. Because your truth might just be the spark someone else needs to ignite their fire. It's not about where you are. It's about what you carry. And Zion? He carried stories. He carried scars. But above all, he carried courage. That's how you dominate the impossible. Not by waiting for luck, but by daring to face the war within. Part 3. Dominate or disappear. Time doesn't wait, and neither should you. There comes a moment in life when the excuses dry out, when the clock doesn't tick for you anymore, and you're left staring at a single choice: dominate or disappear. The truth is brutal. The world doesn't slow down for the broken, the tired, or the hesitant. It doesn't hand you trophies for dreams. It gives them to the ones who dare, the ones who bleed, burn, and break, but never back down. Zion understood that after Berlin. He didn't go home to celebrate. He went home to build. While others were admiring the spotlight, he was setting fire to his shadows. He opened learning centers in abandoned buildings, turned slums into stages, and found light in forgotten children. Children who had never heard applause. Now, they were earning standing ovations. He trained orphan kids to lead, speak, and roar, not whisper. His motto? Tattooed in thick black ink on his forearm: be so bold that fear fears you. And he lived it. He walked into rooms where he wasn't invited, turned rejection into redirection, and refused to ever apologize for his ambition. One night, at a summit in Tokyo, someone asked him, "What's your secret?" Zion smiled and said, "There's no secret. I just started before I was ready. Look around you. Seriously, look. How many people are still stuck in the same loop since last year? Saying the same things, planning the same plans, scared of the same ghosts, waiting for clarity, resources, approval." You know what Zion would say? If you wait for the stars to align, you'll die under the sky. Start raw. Start scared. Start stupid. But start. Your courage doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be louder than your fear. That's how Zion kept rising. Not because he had some divine gift, but because he refused to sit still. He launched a company from a garage, with no funding, no fancy team, just a cracked laptop, big vision, and volcanic grit. Today, that company educates millions, lights sparks in hearts that had gone numb, and breaks the myth that you need luck to lead. He crushed stage after stage, not with perfection, but with passion. And behind that fire, there was a brutal truth fueling him. You either make noise in this life, or you become its silence. Now let's talk about you. Not your dreams. Not your someday goals. You. Right here. Right now. What are you really waiting for? The next Monday? The new year? The moment someone believes in you? Stop. Nobody's coming. Nobody's handing you the mic. If you want the stage, you build it. If you want the crown, you fight for it. Because here's what the world doesn't tell you. Weak people wait for luck. Lions hunt. Warriors rise. Legends build. Zion wasn't chosen. He chose himself. And the day he did, the world had no choice but to follow. So what's it going to be? Another excuse? Another scroll? Another reason why you can't? Or a new beginning? Your fire isn't missing. It's sleeping. Wake it up. Burn louder than your doubts. Fight harder than your fear. Show up like the world owes you a standing ovation, because it does once you earn it. Dominate the impossible, or die wishing you had. One day or day one. You decide. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.